Good morning.
Hey, Louis. How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
All right.
Hey, Nahal.
Hey.
Let's give it a minute or two. We'll let everybody log on and then we'll get rolling. All right.
Danielle, can you also mute yourself just in case?
All right, 11:01. Let's get started. I'm sure there'll be some other people that'll bounce on the call. All right, terrific. So we'll get right into it. And last week we left off on past clients and center of influence. This week we're going to talk about lead follow-up. Lead follow-up is such an important topic, like so important, because most of our leads don't just list with us the day we get the lead. It requires lead follow-up. So let's get into lead follow-up. Good stuff. All right, here we go. Point number one on lead follow-up. So remember that a lot of this is Mike Ferry's definitions and not our definitions. It's not really taking into consideration the kind of market we're in. This is like general rules. So I'll read the point, but then we'll address it. We'll change it a little bit for our usage. Mike Ferry's definition of a lead is a person who will sign a contract within 7 days. Within 7 days. In other words, he would prospect his butt off when he was selling real estate years and years ago. And there's still plenty of agents that do this. They will prospect, talking to 50, 60, 75, 100 people a day, just looking for somebody that wants to do something in the next 7 days. And if they're not going to do something within 7 days, they'll just toss them to the side and look for more. They're always looking for now business. Not recommended in this current market. But that's his definition of a lead. And the question then becomes, what is your definition of a lead? And how did you determine it? What is your definition of a lead? Is it someone that's going to buy or sell within 30 days, within 6 months, within 1 year? Who wants to unmute for a second and just say what their definition of a lead is? And if you haven't identified what your definition of a lead is, let's go ahead and identify it. Mark, what's your definition of a lead? How would you define that for you? You're on mute.
Someone who's going to buy or sell real estate within the next 6 months.
Okay, so that's a lead for you. Someone that's going to buy or sell within 6 months. Okay, perfect. I guess the question is, why is it important to define what a lead is for you? Why is that important? Well, what if you don't define what a lead is? Then everybody you're looking for fits the bill. And then all of a sudden, if you're looking for someone that say, I just want to find anybody that will talk to me, anyone that will give me their email address, anyone that wants to do something within the next 3 to 5 years, guess what? You'll find like hundreds of people, and then you can't follow up with anybody effectively. So it's a really good idea to define for yourself what a lead is. As a placeholder, if you don't have a definition yet, use 6 months. If they're going to go longer than 6 months or shorter than 6 months, start with a 6-month time frame. And that's going to be good. Now, as you start to develop more and more leads, you might choose to shorten that. It's up to you, but for right now, why don't we call it 6 months? Point number 2, be fanatical about your lead follow-up because they gave you their name for a reason. Lewis, I feel like you're really good. You would be really good at lead follow-up, right? I mean, if somebody's going to give you their name and number, they're giving it to you for a reason, right?
Yep, yep. And Aaron, I just like to jump on the leads. To me, in my business here, I have what I call hot leads. That means it's going to convert within 1 month.
Yep.
I also have the leads like your real estate leads, which is going to be 3 to 6 months. And then I have those long terms relational leads. That's going to typically 1 to 2 years. So that's how I categorize all my leads.
Yeah, terrific. And with a very defined program, right? You know, if they say they're doing something in this much time, you know where to categorize them and how you're going to follow up with them. So this is why lead follow-up is so important. 70% of your appointments will come from lead follow-up, not your first contact with these people. 70% of the time. Think about, think if you have a listing or sales board in your office, or if you just look through your files and look at your past 10 or 20 deals that you've done. Did those people just list with you or buy a home with you on the first conversation? Or did it require some degree of lead follow-up? 70% of the time, or maybe even more, there's lead follow-up that's required. So let's be good at it. We know it's a skill that's going to be required of us. Let's become really good at lead follow-up. Point number 4, if I'm not getting a substantial amount of business from my lead follow-up, I'm not doing a good job on lead follow-up. If you find that you're getting most of your business from people that just like call you to do the business and you do it right away, that may be great, but how many deals are you actually doing, right? If you're doing 2 deals a year, somebody calls you, they need to buy a house. Okay, let's do it. But as you start to do more and more and more business, you're going to find that you start getting into people's world a little earlier in the process, and lead follow-up becomes very, very, very important to be really, really effective at that. Remember, the most important part of lead follow-up is having a large trash can near your desk. You must accept the fact that you will cycle through a large number of leads to achieve your goal. So that sounds a little counterintuitive, doesn't it, guys? Why would I ever throw away a lead? Why would you ever do that? So Mark, I feel like we've been through this conversation over the years. You found leads and you didn't want to throw them away, right? They might do something someday. I don't want to lose that person, right?
Exactly.
And have you made kind of a mental shift away from that, or are you still in that thought process?
I've made a shift away from it.
Why is that?
The collecting leads and acting on current leads. 2 different activities. Yeah, versus collecting versus acting on.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happens. The reason why we don't want to, let's say you say, you know what, I'm new in the business. I just want to help anybody I can. I'm not going to be particular. Anybody who wants to do any buying or selling, I'll take them. Somebody says, well, we think we might sell the property in about a year, maybe 2 years. Great, I've got a client. Holy cow, like you start collecting people that are going to do things 2 years from now. Then you start collecting 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 people where they're really not motivated to do much of anything. And then one really good lead comes along. How are you supposed to identify and follow up the good one if you're all screwed up with all these bad ones? You're just overwhelmed with all these people that you're not doing a good job with anybody. So the bad ones hide the good ones. The bad ones hide the good ones. Think about this idea of prospecting. And we've talked about this, I think, on this call before. But if you relate prospecting for real estate business the way back 180 years ago, 170 years ago, when they were prospecting for gold here in California, prospectors were digging through a lot of what to find gold? Good. Sean mouthed it. I saw that. Dirt. That's right. You dig through a lot of dirt to find gold. That is just what the job is. You can't turn dirt into gold, and you can't be upset at the dirt for being dirt. It just is what it is. And that's the same with prospecting. You have to dig through a lot of people to find the motivated buyers and sellers of real estate. And through lead follow-up, we determine their level of motivation. And once you determine that they're not motivated, don't be greedy. Don't hoard them. Let them go. Now, can you put them in you want to put them in an email drip or something else? That's fine. But really identifying, like what Lewis said earlier, who's going to do something within 30 days? Who's going to do something within 3 to 6 months? Who's going to be doing something within 12 months? If somebody says, well, probably 3 to 5 years from now, we'll sell the house. That is personally not somebody I'm going to follow up with. Why? Because it's going to clutter my follow-up process, and I can do a way better job looking for business. And please, I can do a way better job looking for business and finding somebody that wants to do something in the next 1 or 2 or 3 months, instead of following up with someone that says they might do something 3 to 5 years from now. So it's counterintuitive to say, I'm going to throw this quote unquote lead away. But once you identify what a lead is for you, you can feel very comfortable saying, I'm not, and throwing them away might be the wrong word. Just saying, I'm not going to follow up with this person, right? You can talk to them and say, you know what? 3 to 5 years, hold on to my card. I'll still be here. Call me when you're ready. I'd be so happy to serve you. If they're a wonderful person that you're close to, that you're friends with, keep them in your center of influence list. That's different. This lead follow-up is more about, an intense level of following up to set a listing or a buyer appointment with them. And really the reason why we throw away leads or we just push them off to the side if they're not motivated is because we become better at building our business. We become more efficient at building our business when we have fewer leads, right? Nahal, when you find some leads that are, multi-million-dollar leads, and then you learn that, maybe they're not that motivated. It's kind of hard to say, I'm not going to follow up with this person anymore, because you're thinking, holy cow, this is like a $50,000 check. It's an $80,000 check. But truthfully, if they're not going to transact any business, then they're just taking up space. And if we wiped your desk clean, if you started from zero, you would have a new level of motivation to go find some new ones. Hey, dude, I got to get an open house this weekend. I've got nothing going on, right? I'm going to start talking to my friends, my family, my neighbors, because I've got nothing going on. But when you have, 3 or 4 or 5 people that said at some point they were going to do something, it's like, I left them 3 or 4 messages. They haven't returned my call. Let me keep following up with them. It gives you a false sense of security, a false sense of that you have some business going on. And really, it just, it's a smokescreen. It's really just not true. So each week, take a careful look at the total number of leads that you have and see how many will sign a contract within that predetermined time frame that you have, right? So Mark, you just identified people that are leads are going to sell or buy within 6 months, right? When you go through your lead follow-up list, see how many are in there. How many people am I following up with that said they would sign a contract within 6 months or within 3 months or within whatever time frame you are determining a lead is? If they won't sign a contract within that amount of time, then you're going to have to start to, let's say somebody says 6 months, Mark, right? And then 3, 4, 5, 6 months comes and goes and they haven't done anything. And then you say, hey, listen, we had chatted in the past. You said you were going to sell your home. It's been about a half a year, and I wanted to check in. Tell me what's happening. Where are you at with that? Yeah, we'll probably wait another 6 months. Okay, now we're getting a little bit of a red flag. So you have 2 options. You can either say, I'm not going to follow up with this person anymore, or what I would do is really intensify your level of questioning with them. Tell me more about that. Remind me again, where are you moving to? What's important about that? What happens if you don't move? Can you just stay here for another 6 months or 6 years? And as you start to really kind of tie down with very pointed, very specific questions, then you can determine if you want to keep them in your system or not. So just have a keen awareness, guys. As the point is that we always want to be questioning, lots and lots of questions. Be really curious. And the more curious we are, then the better off we're going to be in truly understanding their level of motivation.
Could I ask you, for example, what pointed questions are you asking in that case, just as like some samples?
Ed said it in our meeting the other day, kind of the 3 W's, right? Where, when, and why. Right? Remind me again, where are you moving to? San Luis Obispo. Terrific. What brings you out to San Luis Obispo? You know, well, I'm retired and my daughter just had a baby and we want to be near the grandchildren. Terrific. When would you want to do that? And then we're doing a remodel in the house. You know, we're redoing a bathroom. It's going to take another 3 months. Okay. Or we could do it anytime. So digging deeper on those 3 questions, when, where, and why, motivation, you get really curious and have a really good understanding on that. That tells the entire story.
That's perfect. Thanks. Easy to remember. 3 W's.
Yeah, super easy. You know, the who we know, right? So it's all the basic questions, but you know, you don't have to, you can skip over some of those. Since you have a defined amount of time that you're following up with these people, you know, let's say it wasn't 6 months for you, Mark. Let's say it was 30 days. You said, you know what, I'm prospecting all the time. And if it was 6 months, I've collected too many people. I want to find now business. Let's say it's 30 days. Since you only have a defined amount of time to follow up with these people, don't be afraid to be aggressive. And when I say aggressive, people take that word the wrong way. Aggressive doesn't mean rude. Aggressive doesn't mean pushy. Aggressive doesn't mean mean. Aggressive can mean that you're coming from a very caring place because that's how you serve and help people. But you can be very specific in your questioning, the 3 W's, like we said, right? So if you were to move, where would you go next? Well, I'm not sure. Well, for me, that's not a comfortable answer. So I personally would ask further questions. Well, if you were sure, where do you think you'd go? What are some options that you have? What are the top 2 or 3 places you're thinking about? You know, like let's say we find someone, we know why they're selling because they're retiring. And maybe they hate the politics in California. Maybe they can't afford to stay to live here. Maybe they don't like their neighbor. I think I sold a house once because the guy's next door neighbor kept throwing cigarette butts on his driveway. That's why he sold his home. All right, people have their reasons, right? So, you know, this is why I'm selling. I know I need to do it soon, and they don't know where they're going. I would ask those questions, right? Like I'd get very, very, very specific. The more specific you can be with them, they're just delivering to you. They're giving you the motivation on how you can sell it back to them, right? So when you're going to set that appointment, you know, I want to go to Prescott, Arizona, because I'm retired and I'm the sooner the better. And then you call them a week later to set an appointment. I'm not ready yet. Let's just give it a couple weeks. All right, let me just review. You said you wanted to go to Prescott, right? And it's because you're retiring and you said you wanted to do it kind of as soon as possible. But now is there a change? Like, tell me what I need to know. Tell me how I can support you in this process better. Being very specific really helps you, you know, to get to the bottom of it.
In that case of the 3 W's, I remember, so for example, the where, they might not know where, they may not know when, but that doesn't mean that they're not a lead because their why has a time constraint. They got divorced and they got to move. I thought that was interesting.
Terrific. Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have some flexibility in the way we work these. You know, you always have to make a smart business decision. You know, you're asking, hey, where do you think you'll move to next when you sell this house? Gosh, I'm not sure. I don't even know. And when do you think you'll do it? It's a little bit up in the air. You know, could be 1 month, could be 6 months. All right. Tell me more about that. Why are you thinking about moving? I'm getting a divorce. Aha. Your level of like now you just became a very hot lead. You're getting a divorce. Okay, so are you considering just keeping the house? No, we can't afford to. We're two income earner family. We both pay for the house. We can't keep it. Got it. Okay, so you don't know where you're going yet, and you don't know when you're doing it, but you know you're going to do it. Very, very important to really you want to kind of get behind their mind, get into their mind, and in a supportive, helpful way, and really learn how we can serve them best. And that only happens through asking questions. We really have to become experts at asking questions. So most agents have way too many leads. And there's some obvious disadvantages of having too many leads. The first disadvantage, like we said earlier, the bad leads hide the great ones from you. If you have 100 people in your database that you're following up with, that you're calling leads, guaranteed there's somebody in there that you're not getting to at the right time with the right cadence at the moment when they need you, because you have too many. So the bad ones hide the good ones. The second reason why you don't want to have too many leads is if most of our leads are not great ones, the urgency for lead follow-up is diminished. If you've got 100 crummy leads, are you really motivated to call all those people? It's like, I don't even feel like doing that. I'm not going to get anywhere with them. They don't even want me to call them. It's like, it totally diminishes your personal motivation to call that list. What if you had 3 leads that each one of them said, I want to do something in 30 days? How much motivation would you have to be following up with those people? It would be off the charts. Like, you'd be great at lead follow-up. You couldn't wait to talk to them. You know, hey, Chad, I'm just following up with you. You said you wanted to get the property listed in the next 7 to 10 days or so. So I wanted to follow up. How can I help you? Are you ready to set an appointment? No, Aaron, I just, I'm heading to Vegas for a seminar this weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Okay, great, Chad. Would you like to meet on Tuesday then or Wednesday? What's better for you? You know what? I don't know how I'm going to be, what's going on with work. Can we chat on Tuesday and then set an appointment from there? You got it, Chad. I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Believe me, I am calling him on Tuesday. I can't wait for Tuesday to come. Rather than, we've got 100 people. They don't even remember who I am. Like, why am I calling them? That's not people that we want to be following up with. So we want to keep the level of motivation and urgency with lead follow-up. That's the second reason why we don't want to have too many, we'll call them junky leads or not motivated leads. The third reason that we don't want to have too many leads, it's a huge waste of time to be tracking and calling people on a regular basis who are not going to be moving in the near future. It's a waste of your time. Hey, Elle, I'm just calling you again. I know I called you 2 weeks ago. I'm calling you again just to hear you tell me that you're not doing anything for a couple of years, right? That's just a waste of time, right? We can't, like we said, we can't turn dirt into gold. If somebody's not a lead and they're not motivated, we can't talk them into selling their house. They're going to sell when they're ready to sell. So very, very important. And the last reason why you don't want to have too many leads is a great one. You get what you're looking for. You get what you're looking for. You get what you're looking for. If you're looking for people that want to do something in the next year or two, you're going to find a lot of people that want to do something in the next year or two. If you're looking for people that want to do something now, then it magically occurs that way. There's a whole science behind it, but truthfully, you're having an awareness and a recognition, and those people actually show up if you're looking for them, right? Sean, you've been doing a ton of prospecting at the doors recently, more than you've ever done, right? and you're starting to find, it's a different experience than you had in the past with your door knocking or cold calling. So let's just touch on this a little bit. You're looking for something very specific, and do you find that you're finding that more so than you were before?
100%. Whereas before, we talked about this before, I was searching just for contact information to put into my database. Now I'm specifically looking for people that want to do something now or very soon. The mindset I have going into it is there are people in this neighborhood that want to do something. I just need to find them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And it's interesting. I think you had said yesterday or the day before when you were out in the neighborhood, like, Eric just is like all over this neighborhood. Like, right? Was that you? That here's this agent that's like farming this neighborhood.
Yep. And I said in that same text, I said, if he can find business here, then so can I.
That's right. And yesterday you found somebody that may want to sell their duplex. Like, he's remodeling it. One unit is done. The other one is getting done. The guy first tells Sean that he's thinking about renting it out. And Sean says, perfect. We can help you with that. Sean goes on with his door knocking, leaves a flyer with the guy. 10 minutes later, the guy calls him. Can you come back here? And they talk about the possibility of maybe listing the property. Super cool. That's awesome, dude. Because you're speaking with a level of professionalism and urgency, and you're out there talking to people because you help people buy and sell real estate. It is what you do, right? If you're out there looking for people that for email addresses, that's what you'll find. You get what you're looking for. So get very clear on what it is that you're looking for, and it starts to show up. It's the craziest thing. So one of the fears that we have with doing lead follow-up is specifically asking for a person's motivation, because they may not be motivated, and then we realize that we actually don't have a lead. I think this is a really funny point. Agents, let's say it a different way. Agents sometimes are afraid to ask for someone's motivation because they're afraid of what they might hear. They're afraid that the person might say to them, I actually don't want to sell a house. They don't want to ask those very pointed questions because they're kind of like, somebody says, yeah, I think I want to buy a $5 million property in, in the sand section, like Manhattan Beach. Yeah. Oh my God, great. I'll help you out. We'll follow up. Let's, grab whatever. And then the week goes by and it's like, hey, just wanted to check in. How you doing? Anything you need? No? Okay, cool. Yeah, have a good day. They were afraid to say, hey, listen, Phil, you said you wanted to purchase a property in the sand section, and I wanted to follow up with you and set an appointment where we can actually meet and discuss it further. Have you talked to a lender and gotten qualified? Specifically, what are you looking for? What's your price point? Is a view important? How close to the beach do you want to be? Does it need to be remodeled? Would you consider a townhouse? Like, let's really start to nail this down. A lot of agents feel like they have something when they have a lead, but guess what? Having a lead doesn't pay the bills, right? There's no value in just having a lead. There's value in an appointment. There's value in a listing. There's value in a buyer that's writing contracts. So these are the kind of things that there's value in. So just, again, going back to just asking very specific, very pointed questions is what we want to do. And always remember our job as an agent, okay? Number one, we generate leads. That's what we do. Whether they're going to be from our past clients, from our center of influence, from our neighbors, our friends, from strangers, from expired listings for sale by owners, whether you're going to buy them on Zillow or whatever else, our job is to generate leads, number one. Number two is to convert the leads, right? That's the lead follow-up, converting those leads to appointments. And number three, to go on the appointments. That's it. Super simple. Generate the lead, convert the lead, go on the appointment. That's our job. So I have a question for you guys. Which of these three would you say your strength is, you're strongest in? Are you strongest at generating leads? converting leads, or on the appointments, actually like taking that motivated person, having a great appointment, taking a listing, or putting them under contract. Think about this. Where is your strength? And conversely, where is your weakness? Where's your weakness? Are you amazing at, see, Mark, you're interesting because your strengths and weaknesses are probably flip-flopped with almost everybody else on this call.
I just realized, yeah, while you're, I just realized sorry, I generate leads all day.
Yep.
The lead follow-up. And I realized that the reason I'm weak at lead follow-up is because collecting these leads, it's a future resource. Okay, this is a future resource. I've got these possibilities. And the idea of that gives me a certain feeling, like a security and a certain energy, like I got so many leads. And calling somebody up and someone saying, no, I'm actually not a lead, and however they say it through the 3 W's, right? No, I don't have any strong strength there at all, is a disappointment. So now I got to deal with the disappointment. So I just realized that's been my weakness, is the conversion. Yeah.
What a kind of an enlightening thought to know that you're doing every day you're out there 3 hours a day. By the way, Mark talks to a minimum of 50 people a day, 50 at the door. This is not knocking on 50 doors. This is 50 conversations at the door. That is exceptional. Takes 3 hours and 15 minutes. He has 50 conversations with people. Now, the next mountain to climb is this lead conversion, lead follow-up, and getting into an appointment. Boy, you take that amount of prospecting and then learn how to convert. Then we'll go to the next step, which is appointments and tying them down to listing appointments. But that's a clear next step for you. Is there anybody on this call that feels like, gosh, once you give me a client, there is nobody better. There is nobody better at working with that client. They get amazing service. I'm there for them. I pick up my phone. I answer texts. I'm talking to other agents to see what listings we can find for them. Like my customer service is through the roof, but maybe you lack in lead generation. Yeah. So Phil raised his hand. Tell me more about that, Phil.
All right. So I never prospected. I never get any leads. Things always fall on my lap through referrals. That's just how it's been for the past 8 years. And I know it's a huge weakness. And I don't do anything to generate any leads. It just comes to me, right, through referrals. Mm-hmm. So that's definitely a huge problem for me. When business is booming, that's great. When business is slow right now, it's not good. And I do feel I am the best agent because I honestly have a policy. I have a really crazy policy. If I don't respond to if I don't respond within 2 hours, I will send that client $100 gift card. I'm absolutely obsessed. You will find me. You will find me through text, through email, through phone. It's just obsession of mine. I'm always available for them. At least I want to say from 6 in the morning until 10 in the afternoon. But getting the leads is a huge, huge problem for me.
Yeah. So just imagine that, Mark's skill set and your skill set combined. That's powerful stuff. And really what this call shows us is that what one man or woman can do, so can another, right? So can another. So everyone on the call, when you say, God, the business just comes to me, we're all jealous. Like, wow, your clients love you. But you're right. You've identified the issue, which is that your center of influence, the people that you associate, it's a limited number, right? We've talked about this before. There's 2 groups in the world, the group that you know and the group that you don't know. Like, which group is bigger? It's the group that you don't know. So now we've identified for you that the lead generation part is the weakness. Like, you generate those leads, you're golden from there. You know that anybody you plug into your little kind of stratosphere, your environment within real estate, they will be a client for life. So how do you get more people to that? So then it just becomes an issue of, and it's not even that much of an issue, it's just a plan. All right, how do I create a plan around growing my database? So have you ever thought about creating a plan around growing the database?
Facebook does really good for me. I
Okay.
get a lot of Facebook, a lot of people. Well, I post a lot what I've sold, so I get a good amount from Facebook, but it's not enough where I want to be. That's the problem. The plan, I'm in the process of setting up a CRM, something we discussed 2 sessions ago.
Yep.
And I'm slowly getting there, but cold calling and door knocking, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm shy, maybe I'm introverted in that respect. I cannot commit myself to it. I just cannot commit myself to it.
No problem. So first of all, you actually can if you wanted to, but I don't even think you need to. So there's no need to push there. You have an incredible database. So you're similar. So Elizabeth, who's not on the call today, she is in a very similar situation. She has a wonderful, wonderful database. Her business up until she got into real estate is a design business. So people look to her for their design needs, and they saw her truly as a professional. So what we decided to do is really go deep on that group of people, not go wide, find all these new people, but really go deep on that group of people. Raise her level of participation. And I would venture to say that you can raise your level of participation beyond Facebook, because that's kind of one-sided. I guess there's some back and forth on Facebook if you're talking to people. And how many people would you say? You had mentioned you have 75 that are really kind of close. Is that a larger audience in Facebook for you, or?
Facebook, about 700 people.
Okay.
Right now that I'm connected with. Not enough. I need to get into the thousands.
Yeah.
But usually somebody always contacts me. Oh, I've seen you sold this house. I've seen you doing well. I've seen that's really the lead generation. They see that you sell. If I wasn't selling, I wouldn't get them. I have some people that been with their agents for 2-3 transactions and switch over to me. Why? Because I keep on posting that I keep on selling.
Yeah.
So that's what it's been. But mostly it's through the sphere of influence. It's just nothing referrals.
So I think you have enough people where they could help grow your sphere of influence for you. So I think let's come up with a plan collectively right now for Phil that we can all use that will support him and all of us in building our center of influence and taking the people that we already know and generating more business from that group, right? So Facebook there's a back and forth. It happens on a screen somewhere. I would ask, I guess, is there a higher level of participation from texting somebody? That's a little more intimate than Facebook. Is there a higher level of participation that you could have from calling somebody? I always see on Facebook, I wanted to actually pick up the phone and call you. How you doing? Grabbing a coffee or a lunch with somebody. Like what would happen? This is not realistic, but just imagine for a moment, what would happen if every single day, 5 days a week, you had lunch with somebody in that group?
I'd be very, very large.
You would be. You'd have to eat a lot of salads, or what if you met people just for, a quick coffee or whatever, but imagine the level of closeness and participation and connectedness you've had with that database. Facebook is wonderful, but you're one of 700 people that they already have on their Facebook feed. So
but how do you strategically go to whom you have lunch with, right? That's the strategy of itself, right? So out of the 700 people, I really have to select somebody who is going to be that, that VIP client that we discussed, right?
I think it starts with not overthinking it. I think it starts with really with, first of all, what we said earlier, you get what you're looking for, right? You find what you're looking for, right? So if you make a commitment to say, I'm going to get more connected with this group, you will automatically get more connected. It's going to change the way you relate to them. And then I think what it is you start with the people that you just like, the people that you want to have more participation with, right? And then it happens very organically from there. You can then take one layer out, maybe the people that you feel are going to be connectors in the community. Someone that's an accountant, an attorney, an architect,
Yeah.
something like that. And, just, it doesn't have to be lunch. It doesn't have to be coffee. It can be a phone call, right? And, gosh, I haven't talked to you in 4 months, Phil. I wanted to give you a call. All we do is talk on Facebook. It's great because we get to keep in touch, but I miss talking to you. So I just wanted to check in. How have you been? How's your family? And then similarly for a connector, let's say you have a trust and probate attorney.
Yeah.
Phil, I always get to chat on Facebook with you, but I wanted to raise our level of participation and see if I can support you in building your business. I know you're an attorney. Tell me, can we set up a coffee so I can really learn more about you? And let's kind of raise our level of participation with each other. So it's organic, right? And don't think about the whole 700. That's overwhelming. But who are the first 5 that you want to really take it a little further with?
Okay.
And I think that's a manageable piece to to work on over the next week or so, right? All right. Who's got some issue that they're dealing with, a current challenge or something that we can, either a mindset block, a scripting something that you're having trouble with, a scheduling issue you're having trouble with, a fear. Let's bring it out. Anybody got some issues that they want to address with the group, and we'll all kind of work on it together? Nicholas, you came off mute for a second. Were you going to say something?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm kind of new. I'm basically really new to the realtor and real estate. So yeah, I'm just trying to get out there and, like you said, do everything that you're talking about and get in front of some people or talk to some people on the phone, work on my center of influence,
Yep.
and just generate some leads and convert them and get them to sign the contract, like you said.
Don't worry about signing the contract. Don't worry about any of that. Right now, you just worry about talking to people. Make a list of everybody that you know, and call them all and tell them that you're excited because you're starting a new venture in your life. You're working with a great group and you're just so excited and you just wanted to share that. And how are they doing and what's going on in their life? And they'll want to ask you about how you're doing. And then you can also ask them, hey, who do you know? Who do you know that might need some help buying or selling a home? Anybody you can think of. And you call everybody you know, you'll find a couple of leads. You'll be shocked. It's really cool. Yeah,
Thank you.
super cool. Yeah. But create a plan, determine how many people I'm going to talk to every day. I got to call everybody. Nope, don't call. How many people you talk to today? I'll talk to 10. Good. Who are the 10? List them out, make the call. It's all about creating a plan and executing on that plan.
Thank you.
Amir, were you going to say something earlier? You're on mute.
Sorry. I was just gonna bring up about our conversation yesterday because that really worked, and I was really I think I shared that with one of my guys, talking to the clients about them wanting to reduce our commission.
Yeah, so just set the stage. He had a client.
Yeah, I had at the closing table. We're closing on Friday, and they called me and like, hey, we need $5,000. Just give it to us, and then we'll be good to close.
We'll be good, yeah.
And I was just
what was the price? What was the price of the property?
It was about $1,216,000.
So $30,000 commission check, and the buyer's
Yeah.
thinking, "Come on, it's $5,000, Amir. You're making $30,000."
Yeah.
All right.
And so we had a good talk because I wanted to know some word tracks to kind of talk to them about and point out, and the one thing that I think we talked about that resonated the most was when I said, hey, did I do something wrong? And I just went, what did I do wrong? Because this whole transaction has been going so smooth. I just want to know, is it something that I did wrong? That, and then she just immediately switched to like, no, absolutely. I would have called you and told you the first thing, this is his fault, blah, 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 blah. And then she kind of changed it. Like, I don't want to take any money out of your pocket. And then we had like a kumbaya of like, I'm putting you first. I'm putting you first. It's money that's coming to me, but it's you. It's about you. So I don't want you to lose. I said, and it worked so great. I didn't give up any money. They're basically going to take the deal the way it is. So that
cool.
was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So Amir and I were talking yesterday, and it took a little. I mean, we had to talk through this. Sometimes you got to talk through it, and then all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? Why don't you just say this, like, to the client? Like, what was the client's name again, Amir?
Shanika,
right? Why don't you just say to Shanika, just like, my God, Shanika, no one's ever asked me for money back before. Is it something I did? Right? So cool, dude.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Love it.
Made $5,000.
That's super cool. Yeah, really what it is what Amir and I discussed. It wasn't really a scripting thing. What we discussed is, how can we get Shanika to a place where she wants Amir to make as much as possible, where she's like his biggest supporter, his biggest fan. And what a cool thing. You took a conversation where she asked for $5,000 to being like just having a really heartfelt conversation. And she's like, no, man, you're perfect. It was the other guy's fault. No, like,
yeah,
you're building a client, you're building a client for life there. That's awesome. Phil, what you got?
So I always this is always an issue with rebates and commissions. So for some of my clients culturally, they expect you to give you something, especially if you're selling and buying at the same time. What do you do? I mean, it's like it's in this vicious loop. I have to give them something because it's expected. What do you do in that respect?
What's your cultural background?
Oh boy, I was born in Ukraine. Grew up here, but in our particular culture, like, it's okay, you make a lot of money, we're doing a lot of business, we need a little bit of kickback. Almost every other client that I have that's particularly come from the same background as I do. Nobody else. It's just that particular background.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Amir.
Same here, and I'm Black, so every person I deal with is Black. That's what we talk about. It's like, hey, you help me out. I get it.
Amir's a Black Ukrainian. Really? So Nahal, are Persians the same way?
Worse, people, worse.
Yeah,
they want your firstborn as well.
Yeah, this is not. It's
yeah,
not
I
uncommon.
love my culture, my people. I just have a hard time work with them. So sometimes I just send them to some other people. We clash. And I'm sorry, Aaron, they are not like that with other cultures for some reason, not so much. I don't know, maybe are, but not so much. Maybe they have that, kind of, they get embarrassed.
And the truth is, are all Persians like that? No. Are all Ukrainians like that? No. But the point is, people, white, black, green, yellow, doesn't matter. There are people, and it really doesn't matter what the background is, that will ask for discounts. So some of the things that Amir and I discussed yesterday. So Phil, you feel like there's an expectation. They have an expectation that you're going to give them something, right?
Yeah. So what I do, I usually give them a little bit. I don't go into the numbers, and I try to do it up front, so there's no confusion when we close, right?
Perfect.
$1,000, $1,500, whatever, right?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, if you wanted to, or you can say, listen, that you can pay for a part of the transaction. I'm going to pay for your aspect, whatever aspect, you might pay for
title or some title.
Yeah, title, escrow, and that can get expensive, title and escrow, but you might pay for
just one item. Yeah.
Home warranty. You might pay for an inspection or this,
yeah.
if you want to, if you feel like it's important, some appraisal or something like that. It's what we discussed yesterday a little bit a lot of times we have these limiting beliefs, and until, they're making an assumption and we're making an assumption. And I got to tell you, when Amir and I started that conversation yesterday, I felt like it's just damage control. How can he get out of this with maybe not paying the full $5,000? Can he pay half? Can he pay less? By the end of the conversation, we came up with a plan and he paid nothing, right? So we talked about a few different things, such as, Phil, if I could give everything, I would. The challenge is I can't do that. I'd love, if it was 30,000 going in my pocket, it's just not the way it works, right? A bunch goes to taxes, a bunch goes to my insurance, a bunch goes to paying my team and, escrow coordinators and marketing and this. And it's like I have done this as a presentation before, on a listing presentation, when they grind me for commission. I'd say, look, I'd rip a piece of paper and I'd say, this is the commission right here. Okay. Right away, that much comes off for taxes. Okay. And then, oh, no, I'm sorry. This
Broker.
much broker. This one goes to my broker. And then we got taxes that comes off. And I got my advertising and my marketing. So, and then other, escrow fees and some other little things. I want you to
Oh my God,
understand.
Aaron, stop. You're breaking my heart.
Yeah, honestly, and I'm speaking from the heart, Nahal, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I want everything for you. But the reason why I want to just share this with you is because I'm not trying to be greedy. I want to do the best thing for my clients, but I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I can't run. I have to be somewhat profitable, or I'm out of business.
Yes.
And that's how I do a great job for my clients. Like, it's not that it's a pity party. It's not like, oh, I could barely afford, but this is the reality. I got to pay taxes. I got to pay my broker. And do people really think about that? They don't.
No.
They just think, dude, you're getting 30 grand. You can give me 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. You try getting into the real estate business and tell me how easy it is, right? They don't know that. So sometimes a little bit, Elle, we can talk about that afterwards. I'll explain to you separately. We can talk a little bit about what the reality of our situation is, right? Amir talked very honestly. He didn't do this whole thing, but he did say, did I do something wrong? People don't normally ask me for that. Tell me how I can do better. So heart to heart, and turned out great. So I wonder, Phil, if there's a way that works for you that you can just shed some light on people's understanding of, because otherwise, Phil, I'm buying a $4 million property. You're getting a check for 100 grand. Why don't you just give me half back? Right?
So I tell them, do you want me not to feed my child?
Right.
Do you have a child? I'm just kidding.
Another thing, Aaron, that you brought up that was cool was that you said, this is how I show up for people. This money is what I use to run my office. I have a printer. The fact that you hired me and I'm getting paid allows me to show up for other people and give them same service that I'm giving you, which they didn't really understand it like that. And when you break that down and you have that conversation, I think a lot of people do understand, and they'll be more sympathetic and just say they come back to your side and understand that same team. You didn't charge them hourly for all the advice that you gave them on picking the right inspector and the right septics and all the stuff that we did to get here, and writing the right offer to get the offer accepted. All that stuff was free. So just kind of breaking that down to them, they understood it. And she just was like, hey, go for it. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing to keep in mind, our relationship doesn't end when this transaction ends.
Yeah.
I'm here for you.
I think the whole problem is Redfin, right? When you have somebody who's advertising 1% listings, yet they don't give you a service, they're just, basically employees opening doors. So that's really another problem that kind of stemming here.
Yeah. It depends on the client on how you're going to, I guess the reason that Amir and I had to talk about it a little bit is we had to identify what was important to this client, and a different client could behave in a different way, right? Some people just feel like they need to get something, and it's not about like they can afford it. right? So you're selling a $4 million house. The guy shows up in a $165,000 Mercedes S-Class, and you say, and he wants, he wants 50 grand. And you're saying, you know what, Phil, I got a question for you. Humor me. Why did you buy that car? Why did you buy that car? Right? Like, you could have spent a third of the money and had a really nice automobile. What was it about that car that you love so much? Well, it's the best. It's the most luxurious. It's the most technologically advanced. And I only buy Mercedes. Okay. Question number 2, Phil, why did you choose to work with me rather than some random agent off the street? Is it because you feel like my service is the best? Is it because, this is shooting off the cuff, but with a different client, I think it could be related in different ways. But the point of this whole conversation is don't take anything at face value. Somebody asks for 5 grand or 50 grand. Don't just fold. Don't just give it to them. Have some self-respect, have some dignity, and have a conversation. You can always choose to, Amir can give him the 5 grand if he wants to. But you know what? Make the client work for the 5 grand. We're going to have this conversation. And if you prove to me that I should be giving you this money, fine, you're going to have to convince me. Let's talk about this openly and honestly. And a lot of times, just a really nice open conversation is all that's needed. So Go ahead, Phil.
So just lastly, sometimes what I do, I will give them 5 grand, but they better go to open houses without me. And, so there's something that I can do if I don't have to go run around, particularly in today's environment, and show houses that are going to go 200, 300 over asking. So sometimes I do it, just because, okay, I'm not involved, whatever, right? But like you said, there's different type of clientele.
You're going to make a business decision.
Yeah,
that's entirely up to you to make a business decision. Just, I guess the point is that don't make it a part of just what you do.
Right.
Like, if you're going to do that, you can do it with your eyes open, and that's up.
I mean,
entirely
I don't
up
want to be seen as a discount broker, right?
You're not.
There's a brand, there's service, there's some sort of, guarantees, but.
Yeah. After all, if they wanted a discount broker, they could hire one, and they didn't hire one. They know there's value, and sometimes they just need a little bit of a reminder. All right, guys, thank you so much for showing up today and participating. And I get so much value from these calls, so I appreciate each and every one of you. And we will chat a week from today and continue on effective lead follow-up. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you, Aaron.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye now.
Hey, nice to see you.
Thank you.